Have you ever had a brilliant idea shot down by someone who just couldn't let go of the way things have always been done? It's like their mind is stuck in a mental rut and no amount of persuading is going to break them out of it. Well, there's a name for this phenomenon, the status quo bias. And in this video, we're going to break down the science of why people cling to the familiar so tightly and how you can use this knowledge to become a master persuader. There was a classic study where researchers asked people to evaluate two different types of coffee. One group was told that the coffee is made with this new, special, high quality bean, and the other group was told that it's made with a very traditional, well known bean. Of course, the coffee was identical, but the interesting thing is that people consistently rated the traditional coffee as tasting much better. This is the status quo bias in action. Our brains are hardwired to favor the familiar, the traditional, the way things have always been done. But the status quo bias isn't just about coffee preferences. This can have real world consequences. Imagine a company that has been using the same software system for decades. It's clunky, it's outdated, it can't keep up with the growing demands of the company's sales force. But when a new, more efficient system is proposed, it's met with fierce resistance. Look, the system we have might not be perfect, but this is the way we've always done it, and this works for us. The naysayers will argue. Why change what works? What if this new system introduces all kinds of new problems? Do you know how much work it's going to be to implement a whole new system? This is the status quo bias, and it can lead to missed opportunities, stagnation, and even complete failure. And one of the key drivers of the status quo bias is what's known as loss aversion. Changing our mind about something is actually a form of loss. In order to accept a new way of thinking, a new way of doing something, we also have to let go of the old way. As communicators, it can seem like it doesn't make sense. Why would you accept this new way of thinking about this? It's clearly much better than what you're doing right now. But I think we don't often understand how important this sense of loss is in changing our mind about something. Psychologists have found that losses are about twice as important as gains in our mind. We fear a loss twice as much as we get excited about a gain. So, yeah, maybe your new way of thinking about this or your new way of doing it is good, but is it three, four, five times as good as the way someone's thinking about it right now? And can you convince them that it really is? Because that's what you're going to need to do if you really want them to change their mind. This loss aversion principle is so powerful, it can make us cling to things for no other reason simply than they exist or that they've been around for a while. In one fascinating study, researchers asked participants to rate the quality of some acrylic paint. They told one group of participants the paint has been around for 100 years, and they told the other group this is a pretty new paint, it's only been around for 5 years. Of course, the paint was exactly the same, but the people who thought it had been around for 100 years consistently rated the paint as higher quality and better looking than the people who thought it had only been around for 5 years. Hey, if it's been around for that long, it must be good. Our brains associate longevity with value, even when that connection doesn't make sense at all. So these are the basics of the status quo bias, where it comes from and how it works. Now let's look at a few strategies you can use to break through. When you're trying to introduce someone to a new way of thinking about something or doing something, try framing it not as a leap into the unknown, but as a return to something that already worked well in the past. Instead of saying, guys, we need to completely overhaul our marketing strategy, try saying, hey, remember when our marketing was innovative and customer centric? Let's get back to those roots. By invoking this kind of positive nostalgia, you can make the change feel less like a loss of what we're doing now and more like a glorious homecoming to a time when things were really good. Another powerful way to overcome resistance to change is to emphasize the continuity between the old and the new. People are a lot more receptive to change when they can see how it connects to what they're already doing. So one thing you can focus on is trying to emphasize the components of your proposal that are going to remain the same. If you're suggesting a shift in strategy, you could say something like, of course, our core values and our mission are never going to change. Or you could focus on, I don't want to stop doing these things that are working, but let's just add this other thing and give it a try. By highlighting the continuity, you reduce the perceived risk and you make your proposal feel more like an evolution than a revolution. The status quo bias is a powerful force, but it's not insurmountable. By understanding the psychology behind it, pull of the familiar, the pain of loss, the appeal of longevity, you can craft more persuasive arguments for your messages. Remember to frame the change you're proposing as a return to a past state and emphasize the continuity between what we're already doing and what you're proposing. With these strategies in your toolkit, you'll be well equipped to convince even the most staunch defenders of the status quo. If these insights resonated with you, please like this video and share your own tips for overcoming the status quo in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more science based tips on how to become a master communicator. Until next time, keep challenging the default and pushing for positive change.